Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over Game 6 of the World Chess Championship between Ding versus Nepo. And here, well, London players are going to be very excited. We see our first London system ever in the World Chess Championship, and Ding does not disappoint, doing a very nice game against Nepo. I believe it was 97% accuracy versus 95%. These guys are just playing some amazing chess, and it looks almost one-sided here. The only thing that we had were some inaccuracies, which are just, well, pretty amazing to play at this kind of level. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at this one. We have d4, knight f6, knight f3, pawn to d5, bishop to f4, pawn to c5, one of the best ways to play against the London. Remember, against d4 openings in general, attack the d4 pawn with c5 as soon as possible, and make sure that you're not losing it, of course, but the faster you get this done, the faster you get to an equal game. All right, here we go. Pawn to e3 gets played. Knight c6, knight b to d2, all standard practices, but now a very interesting move got played here. C takes on d4. I was very shocked to see this. Well, some people may not know that. Well, why is this such a bad move? Well, the reason why this is bad is because the pawn structure, well, you always want them to take back with the c pawn. Why would that be? Because if you take back with the c pawn, the game becomes equal as far as the pawn structure goes. So this is a very early concession and definitely not the best to be played here. So when he played c takes on d4, of course, white's just very happy. E takes on d4, and you can see that the pawn structure is just going to point this way. All right, well, here we go. Black went ahead and played bishop f5, kind of like an anti-London idea because, well, bishop usually wants to go to d3 themselves here, but now we have a new idea for the bishop to come, for the bishop here. We'll get to that in a second, though. Here we go. Pawn c3 gets played, and now e6, and here we go, the new idea, bishop to b5. I actually went over this in one of my old videos, the bishop b5 idea. What's the idea here? The idea here is to control the e5 square, so you can trade off this bishop for the knight, and then you can put the knight to e5. All right, here we go. Bishop d6 got played. Bishop takes on d6, not a bad idea at all. Here, a lot of people will either do bishop takes on d6 or bishop to g3 here. I usually will play bishop g3 here, but I think this was the correct decision, not even allowing the doubling of the pawns here, especially because the bishop is controlling over here. You really can't put too much pressure on h7 in this game. So here you go positional and attack the e5 square. All right, here we go. Bishop takes, queen takes, castles kingside, castles kingside, rook to e1, pawn to h6. And here we go, knight to e5 here. This is a very nice toying kind of move here because, well, the knight really can't take on e5 here as the pawn would just take back forking. So here we would love to get rid of that knight because it is very strong, but not now right now is not the time for it. So here black went ahead and played knight to e7, pawn to a4, pawn to a6, bishop back to f1, knight to d7, again looking to try and get rid of this knight, and well, by all means, that's okay. Knight takes on d7, queen takes on d7, pawn to a5. You can see that white has done a good job by controlling the dark squares over here on the queen side, and they definitely have more space. Here, you can see that Nepo definitely did not want any kind of king side attack against him, so a lot of his pieces are aimed that way. Wherever your opponent is weak at, that's where you should attack. So which way does Ding go? Queen side, here we go. Queen c7 got played. You can see that Nepo's always trying to go for that king side attack and put pressure over there. Queen to f3, rook f to c8, rook to a3. A nice idea here. It's a nice rook lift idea. Maybe the rook can go over to the king side some variations, or maybe just go to b3 and put pressure on b7. Here we go. Bishop g6 got played. Trying to get the knight into the game over here. Knight to b3. And here, knight to c6. Here, he goes ahead and changes the idea and looks about the e5 square. You can see here already, white just has plenty of space here, and it's really not too sure what is black up to right now. All right, let's keep moving forward. Queen g3. Of course, Ding is happy to make some trades over here, but of course, Nepo, the aggressive that he is, does not want this to happen. Queen to e7. And here we go, pawn to h4. Here, Ding is doing a great strategy, just like Alekhine used to do back in the day. A lot of people will only go for one side. One of the best ways to play is control everything. He has more space on the queen side. He definitely controls the center. So here we go. Let's get to the third sector and control the king side over here too. By attacking him on all fronts, well, Nepo's just being pushed back nice and slow here. And well, Nepo is not one to just sit around and do nothing. He starts a counterattack. Here we go. Rook e8 gets played. Knight c5, look how beautiful this knight looks. You can imagine pawn on b4 here. You can also imagine rook b3, putting pressure on b7. I'm definitely loving this position. It is already +1 in the position. Pawn to e5 gets played, and again, like I said, Nepo will not wait around and do nothing. And this is perfect for a person like Ding, because he can just go ahead and reap the rewards that, well, his opponent's just pushing too hard. We're going to allow him to push in, and then we can attack him back. Rook b3 gets played, and now knight takes on e5. Not a pawn you really want to take, but almost forced in the position. Rook takes on e5, and here the queen must go to f6 over here. Notice here, there's nothing about thinking about queen takes over here for the two rooks. As well, after pawn takes, knight takes, you're just going to be down the exchange over here because the knight could have taken back. So here, white's definitely winning. All right, queen to f6 got played. And here we go, rook to a3, just simple chess here by Ding, which I love. Knight c4, and this was a terrible move at this point. Here, well, we're going to have the good knight versus the bad bishop. And so what do you play? Simple chess. This knight's way too strong over here. It's also forking the rook, so we're going to go ahead and take. Pawn takes back, and now we can see that this knight is just king of the board over here, even putting pressure on all these pawns over here. Unfortunately for this bishop, look at the pawns. They're all on dark squares, so the bishop has a very hard time finding a good square for it. With that being said, the knight's just jumping around having a great time over here. Here we go, pawn to h5, kicking the bishop. Bishop c2, I mean, the bishop just looks taboo. I don't know what this guy's up to. Knight takes on b7, a free pawn, why not? Queen over to b6, only way to win back your pawn is to win back the pawn over here on b2. But here, I'm pretty sure Ding had already realized that the knight was just too powerful, and now, with the pieces leaving, the king can become very weak over here. Here we go, knight d6 gets played, a nice little tactic, and here black plays rook takes e5. Hopefully nobody fell for the queen takes on d6 here, as after rook takes on e8, well, thank you for the free queen. So here, rook takes on e5, queen takes on e5, queen takes on b2, rook to a5 over here. It looks like black is going to be getting some good counterplay on the queen side. The problem with these kind of positions is, yes, by all means, if you can get your pawn across the board, you are winning. The problem is that your king is so weak. Remember, whenever you went over on the king side, you win the king. When you went over on the queen side, it's going to take quite a bit longer just to get that pawn across the board, and then also try and transfer that into a win. So here, when you went over here on the king side, there's definitely some bad things going on. All right, here we go. King h7. This king is already feeling the heat. Rook over to c5 here. The c4 pawn will fall, and also the rook is going to be jumping on to the 7th. Again, this king just looks weak here, and this bishop, unfortunately, cannot help out. This knight is definitely king of the game. Here we go. Queen c1 check. King over to h2. Pawn to f6. Queen g3. The target here is the g7 pawn, which is the checkmate square. a5, and you can see, well, this passed pawn will make it across the board. There's no way to stop it. Unfortunately, like I said, it's just going to take too long. It's only 4 moves. Well, it's only 4 moves if your opponent's not making threats. King Ding is going to be making some threats over here. Knight takes on c4, a nice little move here, putting pressure on a5. Pawn to a4, knight to e3. Here we see that the knight has a lot of juicy squares over here. f5 if ever given the opportunity with the bishop, maybe even trading off over here. Here, bishop to b1 got played, and I believe this was the second inaccuracy in the game. And, well, I think they wanted instead to play with something like rook to g8. And this is a very high-level computer move, so I can definitely understand Nepo over here with this. I mean, bishop b1 has its ideas, so I definitely don't think it's a bad move. I mean, it is an inaccuracy, but I mean, for humans, I think it's a decent move altogether. Anyways, bishop b1 gets played, and now here comes that rook to c7, the checkmate square. It is now +6 in this position. Oof, it won't last too long. Again, it looks like this pawn should be able to make it, but with the combination of this knight, queen, and rook, this king is just unsafe here. All right, rook g8 was played. Knight to d5 for a simple idea. Knight takes on f6 check, taking the rook, and then also threatening the checkmate over here. Going down to endgame with something like queen g5 is just no good. No bueno. Here we just go ahead and trade, and it doesn't really matter. H takes, knight takes on f6 over here, and well, the rook can come over and just stop the pawn. Oof. So back to the game. Knight d5 got played. King h8, h8 jumping out the way. Rook a7. Again, queen g5 will just be no good as the pawn will be falling. So here we go. Pawn to a3 gets played. Knight to e7. Rook to f8. I mean, the only other move that they were suggesting, this is the last inaccuracy of the game. Again, he did 95% accuracy, and Ding did 97. So it's just like, wow, okay, these guys aren't really doing anything wrong. Just slight little inaccuracies. Here, the computer was wanting to play rook e8 with ideas of maybe something like rook e1. And, well, even with the knight jumping back and forth, it's really just not going to do anything. And here, the only inaccuracy of the game here for Ding, d5 got played, which is funny because this move is very strong. It actually sets up a mating net, which is one that Nepo cannot stop. So, Pawn to a2 gets played. It looks like this pawn's doing well, but all of a sudden we have queen c7, and now it is forced mate. There's nothing you could do to stop this. Okay, king h7 got played. Knight to g6, rook to g8, and this move is just so nice because there was drawing variations with the queen going to f4. Mind you, this queen would have to stay on the diagonal. So when the knight went to g6, it got a free tempo off the rook and also guards the f4 square, which is very important. And now, last move of the game, queen to f7, and Nepo resigns. Why did Nepo resign? This is a forced checkmate, all because of this pawn and, well, the queen, rook, and the knight, right? This was setting up a very nice mating net. All right. In the game, black resigned. We'll just go ahead and say, I don't know, bishop to... No, let's not do a bishop move. Let's do just like a queen move. Queen goes to d2 over here. All right. It is white to move and win. What do you play to get this beautiful checkmate? All right. Here we go. At this point, white can just go in and play. Queen takes on g8. King takes on g8, rook a8 check, king to f7, and now we get the hook mate with rook to f8 for check and mate. And now you can see the genius of this idea of pawn to d5. Again, not only was it trying to get the pawn across the board, but it was taking away this critical e6 square, which would have been the escape square. At this point, Nepo had no way to get out, so he just goes ahead and throws in the towel. And I do not blame him, as I don't like being checkmated over the board either. But sometimes if it is a very nice game, they go ahead and let that happen. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next game of this thrilling match. It is now tied up, and I'm very much looking forward to the next game. We'll see you later.